Welcome to the MsSavvyPro Show with Patrice Jackson, a.k.a. MsSavvyPro, where each week we get up close and personal with successful, purpose-filled people to reveal their struggles, strategies, and inspiring stories of how they are changing the world one person at a time. Our purpose is to empower you to start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can to pursue your dreams and goals.
Hey, everybody. It's your girl, Patrice Jackson, as you know, MsSavvyPro, and we are here on another great Tuesday. You guys, I had a 3-day weekend. I used it all about me time, so I'm super pumped for this interview. Not to mention, I'm super pumped to interview our interviewee today. You guys, once you start to hear her story and hear how she uses it to empower and encourage communities and people all around the world, you guys are going to be super excited just like I am. As you know, the MsSavvyPro Show is on the I Am a Superwoman Network, one of the best networks out there, and we are all about encouraging and empowering you to live the life you were born to live out that purpose and those gifts, and to use that to change the community from where you are. So as you know, we're just going to jump into the show. If you have any questions for our guests, you can always put them in the event page on Facebook, and you can always go there and ask me any questions if you have to, or share your stories of empowerment and your stories of purpose and how you got to where you are there as well. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and jump in. We're not even going to read her bio today. We're going to let her tell us who she is and all the great things she does, because there's a lot, you guys, and I'm super excited. But our guest today is Miss Stacey Flowers. I actually got the opportunity to see her on YouTube. You guys know I'm all on YouTube University, right? And she came up and I binge watched all her videos, and I was like, oh my God. Like that next day I got up and I'm like, let me send her email because I will be so honored and so happy if she got the opportunity, if she came on the show and we got to talk to her. So Stacey, hi, welcome to the MsSavvyPro Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited as well. You know, like I said, I binge watch. I don't even know how, of course, YouTube will have you in a rabbit hole in the nighttime. And I don't know how I got to your videos, but I'm like, oh my gosh, she is so cool. I loved your energy. I love how you empower people. I even like that, a few days later, I think I even tried, I seen your Buddha bowls. I was like, those are so cool. I never even heard of those. So, I just want to let you know that, yes, if you have not touched anybody with your videos, or no one has told you, rather, you have touched me and you have inspired me. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, thank you. I just want to first say thank you so much for just reaching out and giving me the opportunity to be able to come onto this platform and encourage and empower people. I, did a little research on what you're doing, and I'm just like, this is amazing. I love being able to sort of serve in this capacity because one of my all-time favorite things to do is speak. And so I just want to let you know that I appreciate you, and I am so grateful to you and every single one of your listeners for supporting my work and listening to this podcast. As far as a little bit about me, I guess the best place to start would be to start from sort of where you were introduced to me, and that is on my YouTube platform. If I had to give myself a couple of quick titles, I would say, speaker, writer, teacher, reader. And I say that in the sense that when you found me on YouTube, you are actually literally watching me week by week, sometimes day by day, live my life out loud as I'm trying to overcome some really, really poor financial habits and financial behaviors. I talk a lot about how I'm on a journey to become 100% debt-free, primarily paying off student loans and a little bit of business debt. And I'm documenting that entire process over on my YouTube channel. And so for that part, there's a little bit of teaching in there, but there's a lot of speaking and just learning and really growing and, trying to become the person that I've always dreamt of being. But professionally, what I do when I'm not creating content for YouTube or I'm not inspiring from that particular platform is I'm a motivational speaker, and I travel around the world inspiring and empowering women to create real happiness. And it's been a fascinating journey to experience that and to be able to do that and to, reach some incredible heights in terms of being able to deliver a TED Talk. But then to find myself in this position where there was a little bit of inconsistency in the way that my life was showing up personally and professionally. And so the blending of all that sort of turns into this space of where, I'm a reader, I'm a learner, and I'm really trying to, get a grasp of what it means to be myself and be myself professionally and personally and in a way that inspires and empowers people. So it's kind of a little bit of a snippet of who I am.
Yeah. And, okay, so like you said, you started off with YouTube, and so we could, I'm going to ask a few questions from there. First let me say this. It's because on your YouTube channel, you do, like, book reviews, and like you said, you're using it to kind of be a little bit more self-aware, making sure that you have a consistency across the board of be professionally and personally. And what I've seen when I've watched it is that you continue to learn and you continue to invest in yourself, and then that takes you to another level of understanding who you truly are and what you need to do to grow. Can you speak to the importance of, making sure you're reading, making sure that you're investing in yourself by watching other YouTubers and just in general, and how that can help you grow?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, the best investment that you will ever make is the investment in yourself. And it's interesting because on YouTube, I think that there may be like 3 specific ways that I show what it looks like to invest in myself. One way is investing in myself through therapy. That's like a running thread through nearly all of my videos, whether I'm taking you on a vlog where you're seeing me go in and out of therapy, or I'm literally walking you through my budget and you're seeing how much I'm paying for therapy. What I consider therapy to be is a investment in myself. I feel like it's the greatest act of self-love. And so I'm literally investing in a mental health professional to help sort out, my mind, which ultimately controls, my body and the things that I'm doing. I also make investments in terms of reading. The thing that I love about, like, reading and combining with therapy is the amount of self-awareness that happens, right? Because I find that, as women, we're able to consume so much and we're able to read so much and we're able to be like, oh, man, this person inspires me and this person is doing this, and we're consuming all this stuff. And it's like there comes to a point where after you've consumed all this stuff, you actually have to do something about it. And so for me, in terms of, like, investing in myself, like, the place where I do something about it is I'm like, okay, I read something amazing in this book, and then I go sort of, like, emotionally and mentally work it out with my therapist. And then the final investment that I make in myself is to actually, like, come on camera and express my truth as it stands in the moment, so that way I have sort of this archive to be able to look back on and reflect and say, okay, Stacey, this is what you thought before, and this is what you think now. What did you do in between those steps? Because you need to know what you're doing to move your life forward. And so I think in terms of investing in yourself, as I mentioned, it's literally the, like, best thing that you will ever do for your entire life. And I think that sometimes when we think about investing in ourselves, we think about investing in ourselves from a materialistic perspective, or we think about investing in ourselves from a perspective of even giving to other people. Like, I'm going to invest in myself through nurturing my relationships. But what I like to encourage people, and I'm hoping that I'm doing that through my channel and through, speaking around the world, is reminding people that, like, investing in yourself should bring you to a place of being more self-aware. The more self-aware you are, the easier it's going to be for you to show up in the world as your best self. And all of that investment will finally feel like it's paying off, and there's this return. And I think that, like, it's critical to your growth. But it's not even just that it's critical to your growth, but, like, personal growth and development is the number one game-changing secret hack to doing life well. It is you deciding on purpose and intentionally that you are going to grow and develop into the person that you've always wanted to be. So
that is so amazing, and I'm glad that you broke it down into the 3 ways that you show it on YouTube, because other than maybe therapy, there's not a lot of like when you say invest in yourself, you're not using a lot of finances to do it, right? Because one of the things on your YouTube, you are working on your finance, so of course you're going to find ways to invest in yourself without using a lot of funds, right? So this lets you know that maybe, let the listeners know that, hey, if you want to invest in yourself, it doesn't mean, like you said, it's not materialistic, and it doesn't mean that you have to go out and spend all of this money. You just need to find ways where you're just continuing to pour in yourself wisdom and experience from other people, and to find ways to grow, having a team. Because I always tell people that sometimes you may have a team, and some people may be on your team, and they don't even know they're on your team, right? I always tell people, I always internet stalk people, like my coach actually just told me about that this weekend. She's like, I love the way you just get enthralled into people when you see them. I'm like, yeah, but when people inspire you, you just want to learn everything about them. And those people can be on your team. You can have mentors of people that know that they are your mentors. You can read books that can change your life, right? And those are all things that are invested into yourself. And you can go to the library and to half-price books and small bookstores and things like that in order to get those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if anything, I hope that my journey inspires people to think a little bit outside of the box, because it's like it wouldn't seem that recording a video and sharing my financial journey live, the highs and the lows, is an investment in myself. But at the end of the day, if one person watches the video, that is enough accountability for me to say there's one person watching this video and believing for me. So in those moments where I don't believe or I don't want to believe, I have this one person who's like holding space for me, right? And it's just like, I'm human. I'm not going to be always inspired and ready, and no one is like that. And so when I'm suggesting like investing in yourself from a perspective of like thinking a little bit outside of the box, because I do think that everyone's go-to investment in themselves is something that hinges on them making a financial or them paying a financial cost, and it's just like the paying a financial cost in order to invest in yourself is probably something that's taxing you in a way that's preventing you from actually investing in yourself, right? And so it's just like I would encourage anybody who's listening to kind of think outside of the box. It's like when you know yourself, like you know what you need. There's so many people who will, in the comments section, be like, why are you doing this? You're sharing too much, you're oversharing. And I'm like, I'm investing in myself. I know how I learn. I know what works for me. I know what supports me, and building a community around this very difficult journey, this works for me. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it every day or every week or however many times it takes until, I reach my ultimate goal. So.
Yeah, it always amazes me how my personal actions can really upset other people's day or life. Like, how is me doing what I do that works for me upsetting you so much that you need to speak out about it, or that you're so upset that it is actually ruining your disposition or your day? I never get that. Like, especially when you those daily comments.
That's been an amazing part of this process. Like, when I tell you my whole entire heart for putting my financial journey out there was really because, like, I tried this 3 years ago, and I was met with great success, and then I started making a whole bunch of money, and I fell off, and then I fell into even deeper debt, and I was like, this system works, but you failed, and you have to build in some support so that you don't fail, right? And so with my whole heart, I was like, the support that I need, I learn out loud, and I need to say it out loud, and I learn, and I'm able to execute when I have accountability. So I'm going to put these two things in place to be able to support me. But what's been fascinating is, as I'm walking through this journey, and I'm like, healing financial wounds, and I'm learning about my finances, and I'm shifting my paradigm financially, what's been fascinating is, from a professional perspective, because I do have so many different glaring responses in my comments, I'm able to do the work that I actually believe I'm called to do more frequently than I ever was before in the past. And like what I mean by that is that, people will see me do a grocery haul, and, they'll be upset because of the store that I'm choosing to shop at. And in the comments, we can have a conversation. I'm like, okay, are you upset with the store? Are you upset with the dollar amount? What is that about? Because it's not about the dollar amount, because the dollar amount is small. So what is your issue with the store? And then suddenly that person is like, oh, my goodness, you're right. I did just judge this store for no reason. I need to figure out what that is. I didn't know I had an issue here. I didn't know I had a block here. And I'm like, yeah. And so it's been fascinating to see how many people I've been able to help, one, through just sharing the journey, right? Like no comments, just me expressing myself, but then also diving back into the comments and really, going toe-to-toe with people who have opinions and judgments. And I'm like, you don't know me, so this can't actually be about me. This is about what I'm reflecting back to you that's in you. So let's talk about that. Like, let's work on that. And, if anybody jumps in the thread, but you'll see, like, I'll go back and forth, 10, 12 times with somebody until, I've learned and they've learned. And typically what happens is people will be like, I didn't know this was an issue for me until you did this, or, I didn't know this was an issue for me until you said it that way. And I'm like, I'm here to serve. Like, that's a part of my work. So it's really amazing that choosing to invest in myself in this unconventional way has turned into a game-changing investment for my company. So I love it all the way around.
So let's talk about your company. But before we talk about your company, I always like to ask people who they were when they were a little kid. So when you were a little kid, were you that friend that all the other friends came to? Because it seems like you are the person to say, let's sit down, let's think about this and see what's really going on. Was that you always, or is this just something you've learned as you've grown?
That was me always. I was 100% that kid. Let me tell you, in the third grade, I was a conflict resolution manager. And basically what that is exactly my third grade teacher, because I was always like, it's so in third grade we had safety patrol and then we had conflict resolution manager, and I wanted to have, some additional duty, and I was going to do safety patrol, and my teacher was like, no, I think you would be a good conflict resolution manager. And I'm like, okay, what is that? And basically what that is during recess, instead of playing at recess, I would walk around the playground with my little safety patrol vest on and a clipboard, noticing conflict and helping my peers to diffuse it.
What? You created this. I'm sorry, but this sounds like a grown-up job. Like, you created this grown-up job in third grade. I could just imagine.
I feel like my teachers did it. I feel like my teachers sort of maybe just noticed my strengths or something. I don't know if it's a real thing, if that's just from Omaha, Nebraska, but I, literally remember, on the playground, I would be able, or, I could give people passes if they needed to go to the bathroom, whatever. I was just in this space where if people, if somebody, hit somebody, instead of them having to go to the principal's office, they would have to come to me, and then I would get an opportunity to help them resolve their conflict. So that was in the third grade. But, even as I progressed through adolescence and my teen years, I am that friend that people come to for advice. I'm that friend that people come to confide in. My disposition naturally is just to be very open and non-judgmental. I really believe that everybody is on a journey, and I hate the idea of judging someone from this glimpse, right? You're reading one page and you've decided that they're a worthless human being, and it's like, they're on a journey. You don't know their whole story. Let's not count people out because you don't like the way their circumstances look now. And so all throughout my adolescence, and I even think, in terms of my family home, I'm dead smack in the middle. So I'm a true middle child. And so, yeah, it's 100% the role of, advice giver and, confidant and, best friend, and you can tell me anything, and also just eternally an eternal optimist. And so I think a lot of my friends would come to me too, because no matter how dire or dramatic they thought their situation was, I was always able to find a silver lining, or I was always able to point them in a perspective that looked up rather than down at their circumstance. And it serves me really well, especially now in my career and personally. So, yeah, I've always been this girl, always.
So with you being that type of person and being that person from, for always, was there ever a time where you felt like you couldn't go to either your friends or you didn't feel, because I know sometimes I'm kind of that person where a lot of my friends come to me because I try to be like a heart with ears, right? I try not to judge or give advice when you're not asking for it or whatever the case may be. And sometimes I feel like and my friends say, well, you don't come to me. You know, you hold it all in. Like, if they call, I'm like, I'm fine. And the whole world can be, like, falling apart. So were you ever that person where you kind of kept stuff into yourself and kind of dealt with it on your own because you know people always come to you?
Yes. I think that actually was a little bit of the inspiration from my TED Talk. In my TED Talk, I talk about the 5 key people you need in your life to create real happiness, and I talk about, you know, a coach, a mentor, a peer, a cheerleader, and ultimately I talk about a friend. And in the TED Talk, you know, it's a very sort of like high-level overview, but the inspiration for that is because I am the person that people confide in. It was hard to confide in other people because when I would go to some of my friends with my problems, they wouldn't believe me. They would be like, oh, well, you know, you're Stacey. This way, you'll figure it out. Give yourself a strategy. And, like, you know, do what you do for me. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that for myself because I don't have any perspective on my own situation. And so probably in, like, my early 20s, late 20s, that was very difficult because I felt like, you know, once you're the advice giver, there's a bit of an imaginary pedestal that I think people put you on, even if you don't necessarily want to be on it. And actually, this is something that me and my best friend just talked about. At the top of the year, we were going over our vision boards, and, you know, I was sharing with her some of my disappointments for last year, and she was just like, yeah, I'm really disappointed in you, too. And I'm like, you know, that's not the response that you're supposed to have when I'm expressing I'm disappointed in myself. You're supposed to have a supportive response, but you don't have room to support me because I'm on such a high pedestal that I can't express to you my errors, my mistakes, my thoughts, my insecurities, and that's not a good place for us to be in as best friends in this stage of our life. And so we sort of like talk through it. But how it relates to, you know, the inspiration from my TED Talk, what I found is that if you're someone like me, or even if you're not like me, what I found is that oftentimes we think that there's one person who can do everything for us, right? That's the person who will stand up with us at our wedding. They'll help us, you know, they'll stuff envelopes so we can push out flyers for our new business. They'll, you know, hold our hand when we're going through something. They'll give us a shoulder to cry on. They'll whoop it. It's like that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. And so as I was trying to navigate the space of trying to find one person, I had to come to terms with the idea that, like, it's not just one person. It is me finding qualities and characteristics in about 5 people that support me in different ways. And then once I was able to sort of like see my support system through this lens, it made it so much easier for me to turn to people with things, because before it would be like this verbal diarrhea and just dumping on one person, and it's like that gets overwhelming. But now I know that when I need a little bit more encouragement, I need to go to my cheerleader, right? Like I have a friend who's just a diehard, girl, you got this. I know I need to go to her for that. Like if I need somebody to like push me a little further, I can go to my actual real business coach, or I can go to my friend who her natural behavior, her natural sort of like way she shows up in life is very coachy like, right? Or I can go to, you know, my true blue friends and my best friends and say, but I try not to inundate one particular person with all of my problems, because it wasn't something that I had positive experiences with in the past. And now, having done so much research and supported so many people in finding a group of people around them and creating a support system, I realized that it's really beneficial to you and all of the people that you have in your life to find the right people to confide in for the things that you're going through.
You know, I'm glad that you shared that, and that you spoke to the having those, you know, those important 5 people in your life, because that was one of the things that I think freed me so much from a lot of disappointment and expecting the wrong things from the wrong people, because I have different friends, but they weren't that friend for this particular situation. Like I have a friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And, you know, I have a friend, you cannot go to her and try to tell her your issues, because some way, somehow, she'll make it about her. And you get kind of like, well, I was the one who came to you to talk, and you get kind of agitated, and you may get disappointed or whatever the case may be. So I had to start realizing, okay, I don't go to her because I'm having an issue and I need to talk, but she is the person that will make you laugh, get you out your head, and you just like, I'm going to clear my head. So I had to realize that's who she is, and I had to learn to, you know, love her for who she is, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that, irritates her about me. And I had to realize, it was hard for me to realize, like, I irritate people, but, I know I'm not perfect. And then, too, I was glad you talked about therapy, because I'm a big advocate for therapy, because I feel like, okay, this is my therapist. I actually pay you to listen to me and help me out. So you kind of got to listen. Like, this is your job, and you've been trained to do this job.
It really circles back around to that whole self-awareness and investing in yourself piece, right? Like how you said, I had to learn that I was irritating to some people, right? Like that's a shocker for people like you and me who love to give advice and who love to support people and who people naturally come to for wisdom and information. It's shocking for us to realize that some people can't handle how we show up, but it's amazing when you realize that, like, no, it's not that some people can't handle when you show up. It's that people need to learn who they can go to get things. And I tell my friends, listen, if you don't want a 3-step strategy broken down, ABC 1, 2, 3 with Roman numerals as well, like I'm not the person, because I naturally, if you come to me with a problem, I'm naturally going to be like, okay, A is this, B is this, C. I naturally do that, and that can become quite frustrating to somebody who really just wants to be listened to, right? But you got to accept me for who I am, and I have to accept you for who you are. And once we begin to do that, and once we begin to, give people just release from this pressure of, like, you need to be everything to me, and it's like no, I don't have the capacity to do that. That's not how I'm set up. That's not how I work. But again, you don't know these things until you're investing in yourself and you figure out, oh, this is really who I am. This is really how I function, right? You don't know these things sometimes until you go to therapy and you're sitting across from a therapist because your whole life has blown up right before your eyes, and you're like, why is everything falling apart? And then you sit there and you have to realize, oh, because I wasn't showing up at 100%. I was showing one side of myself that people were dependent upon. And the minute another part of myself showed up, people couldn't handle it, and I didn't know how to function in that space. And so it definitely circles back to that whole self-awareness and investing in yourself piece, because we burden our friendships, we burden our relationships so heavily by expecting people to be the be-all, end-all for everything. And it's like no one human being was born with that capacity. That's the reason why there's 7 billion of us, because we're meant to connect with multiple people to get multiple needs and wants met. And, when we put it all on one person, my husband, my best friend, my mom, my dad, it's like there's 7 billion people on the planet. Surely you can connect with a few other people to get some of those needs and wants met.
Yeah, that's so true. And I hope, the listeners hear that, because for me, it stopped me from being disappointed in people for the wrong reasons, and my feelings being hurt all the time, which is just unnecessary stress on myself and our friendship, our relationships.
Exactly.
And that was, and then once I was able to do that, I was able to really, hang with my friends and love my friends and family and associates for what it really was, and it stopped any type of animosity or whatever the case may be. So I am so glad, and I'm so glad that you spoke to that, and I'm also happy that on your YouTube channel you talk about therapy, because a lot of times people are scared to talk about that, or you don't want, especially in the African American community, it's all like keep it to yourself, don't nothing go out the house, and then we're going through all this turmoil that just continues to be like this circle of this generational circle that never ends. Right? And it's just passing it down from one generation to the next generation, and we're wondering why we're so dysfunctional and why we can't get it together. But when we have therapy, you can kind of figure it out, especially when you find the right therapist, because you did speak to that one day, the right therapist, and you start to get a perspective of what's going on, all those breakthroughs and all those strongholds just start to break off.
Right. It's interesting because hearing you say that, I didn't necessarily realize it until you just said it now, but I picked 2 really hot potato issues to discuss on my YouTube channel, money and mental health. And I didn't think about how much of a hot potato issue these things are, and especially within the African American community, how much we just don't look at it. And we will find ourselves living the same year every single year over and over and over, whether it be from a mental health perspective or a financial perspective, and we don't know how to get out of it. And I think that, I mean, now hearing you say it, I'm still just thinking about it now, but I think that there was something more divine happening in that, because I didn't do that intentionally. I came on there wholeheartedly for the accountability, but I didn't necessarily say, you know, I'm going to talk about mental health and therapy and money and finances because this is something that is, you know, facing the Black community, and, you know, like, I want to help us overcome it. That wasn't necessarily my position, but I am seeing more and more people email me or people DM me or people let me know that because I am openly discussing therapy, openly giving mental conditions names, talking about my management process, honoring, you know, my limitations based on the mental health issues that I'm managing, like, to publicly say, you know, guys, I'm going to work part-time because right now I'm managing post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, that's unheard of, right? It's unheard of in this picture-perfect Instagram world where, you know, nobody has any problems and everybody's life is better than yours. It's unheard of for somebody to say, nah, I'm going to work part-time because I'm managing this condition, which brings anxiety and depression with it, and I don't want to have that, right? But yeah, like, I do see that it is something, especially in the African American population, that just goes undiscussed. I think that, and then I think when we do discuss it, and this is kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole, so you can bring me back if you don't want to talk about it, but I think that something else that happens financially and in terms of mental health is that there's a lot of spiritual bypass that happens in the African American community where, like, you know, someone will have a true mental health issue and we will turn to our spiritual leaders to get healing. And when we get that healing, we want to believe by faith supernaturally that we've been healed. And in my opinion, there's truth to that. But the issue is that you may have been supernaturally healed in a way where now you are open to going to a mental health professional to continue treatment. Does that make sense? It's like it's some
it truly does. I actually had this actual conversation on Facebook with the person because I had posted something about, you know, be careful about the person who always has a smile on their face. And I posted something like that might be the one person who, after they leave the event or the party, they go home and they have thoughts of suicide. Right. But you thought everything was okay because they had this smile on their face, you know, and she was like, well, if you're a Christian, you don't have these issues, and you go to your pastor and you pray. I'm like, it's kind of like the whole story about the boat. God is like, you know, you get to heaven, and you like, God, I thought you were going to save me. I thought you were going to help me. He was like, yeah, but I sent you 3 people. You know, I sent you a therapist. I sent you a doctor. I sent you these people to help you, but you told them to go because God had you. Yeah, I had you. Those were the things. And I think saying that you shouldn't go to a therapist is very negligent to tell people that just going to reading the Bible and just going to a minister who is not equipped to assist you if they're not, you know, actual counselors is very negligent, and you kind of leaving the space open for mental health.
Right. What's fascinating is that, you know, I've never been in a church where the church has outright said, do not go to a therapist or do not go to a mental health professional. I know those churches exist, but I've never been there. I think what happens is we hear the message that if you have enough faith, if you believe, you can be healed. And I think in our attempt to exercise our faith, we don't invest in ourselves with the wisdom that God has given us in the moment, right? Like in that moment, if you're sitting in a worship ceremony and somebody is saying, you know, be healed by, you know, by your faith, like in, you know, in Jesus' name, like you're clear, you're da-da-da-da-da. In that moment, you feel the presence of God come and you feel like you're suddenly healed. And then your next thought is, man, I should get a therapist. That thought also has come from God. So go ahead and get up after your worship moment and go call that professional. Does that make sense? I think that that's what I mean when I say spiritual bypass. It's like we're going to bypass some of the information that comes down in a moment of healing. But it's like all of the information that comes down is for you and from God, right? He's not going to give you half a message. He's going to give you the whole message. And it might be go to the altar, get prayer, but if your next thought after that is, man, I should do this, I should do that, that is from You know, like that is spiritual too. That is worth doing too. And it, you know, and I think, you know, it keeps coming back to that whole investing in yourself. It's like you are worth investing in, and you know, mental health is just as important as spiritual health, because you are limited in how you can exercise your spiritual beliefs, your faith, in how healthy you are mentally. Right? Like you're limited.
Yeah, I think it's a holistic approach to everything, because if you're not mentally healthy, you, like, for me, I've dealt with depression to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. And when I wasn't laying in bed like, oh, you know, I'm can't get out of bed, but I'm gonna read my Bible. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to church. I couldn't, you know, worship. I couldn't any of those things because I just was not feeling it, and I just didn't want to move. So I think that for me, like my church, we have something called grief recovery, because, you know, as in grief recovery, they say hurt people. And I think as entrepreneurs, because a lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs or people that are helping communities, I feel like it puts you in a better space to help other people when you're okay, or at least building to being okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. On my podcast, I talked about how for the rest of my life, I will be in therapy. Like, I've already made a commitment for the rest of my life, because the amount of work that I do, I need a professional to help me hold space for this, right? Like, there are people, I don't know if you've ever listened to any of my live, but there are people who are tuning in from, like, Germany and Australia and Finland and Canada and South Africa. It's just like, I need to talk to someone weekly, monthly, however you want to. I need to talk to someone in order to maintain capacity to continue to inspire and empower at that level. I mean, I think it was Yama Van Sant who said, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, everything that's in the cup is for you, and everything that falls out, the overflow that falls onto the saucer, that's for other people. And so how do I keep my cup full? The same way that people come to me for advice, inspiration, wisdom, insight, etc., I go to, you know, my 5 people or to my therapist to make sure my cup is full. And so on my podcast, I talk about how for the rest of my career, I will maintain a working relationship with a mental health professional, because every wisdom, insight, inspiration, empowerment moment that I'm giving to you, whether it's from the stage, from a video, from a podcast, all of that is coming from my mind. And my commitment to you, because I love you guys so much and because I truly want to support you in creating real happiness in your own life, my commitment to you is to make sure on the back end I have invested in myself enough to show up and be 110% for you. That's my commitment. Like, that's how committed I am to serving you, that I will make sure that I am taken care of before I open my mouth to say anything to you all, right? And that's not to be confused with I have to be 100% healed and perfect and no problems. No, that's to say that maintenance of mental health, strong, solid mental health, is a priority for me, because the work that you do when you're an entrepreneur, right? You're using your whole body, mind, and soul. Like, that's a lot to create something out of nothing. It's a lot of work. Right. You know, you need support to continue cranking out that level of creativity, right? And then if you're an entrepreneur who's in a business where you actually interact with other people, that's a whole nother layer of a lot. And so for me, I'm like, my commitment, because I know I'm aware of the call of my life. I'm aware of the reach of my influence. I'm aware of the capacity of my wingspan. And if I want to maintain that, that means investing in myself, in a mental health professional, to help me stay 110% for every single person who needs me or wants me to show up for them. And it's just like, it's just done. It is decided.
You know, and I'm glad you spoke to the fact that, you know, as an entrepreneur, that we use all of ourselves in order to build our businesses and have small businesses. And then you spoke to, you know, all the things like, you know, basically self-care, right? So we can give from our overflow. because that's key. And I think for me, and even, seeing my friends and associates, we just are, we're going all the time, and we're planning events, and we're planning these things, and we're, working behind the scenes, and it's so easy. I mean, I know for a fact when I'm working on a project, I may forget to just everything, eat or everything, and I even not to be cruel, but even to go to the bathroom, okay, well, I want to just finish this one thing. I just want to finish this one thing. And then, but you're killing yourself, so sometimes you have to step back, be a little bit self-aware, and just pour into yourself and allow yourself to heal from the inside out, so that you can be more for everybody else. And no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is that it is such a heart, soul level work, right? Like it's so much heart and so much soul, and that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it unique. That's why you can be in a room with 15 other podcasters, but each and every single one of your podcasts are doing amazing. That's why you can be in the room with another stylist, another speaker, whatever, and each of you guys are doing amazing because you're pouring your heart and soul into whatever it is that you're producing. But that same beauty, the other side of the coin, shows and reveals the most difficult part of entrepreneurship, and that is every time you put out a product or a service, it's your whole entire heart and soul out there, right? That's why we get mad at our friends when they don't show up at our events, because you're like, I just showed you my heart. What is my heart, right? And most entrepreneurs don't know that that's the work that they're doing, right? Like most entrepreneurs don't even really consider themselves artists, but it's just like for the most part, every entrepreneur, no matter how administrative your business is, like you're an artist and you're offering the world your heart and soul. And every time someone says no, and the no can show up in the form of not buying tickets, not, supporting you, not showing up, whatever, however that no shows up, that rejection shows up, it hits your heart a little bit, right? Like it dings your heart a little bit. And you have to have amazing self-care practices so that way you get up and get back out there another day, because even though it feels like people are rejecting you, even though it feels like people are saying no, those just aren't the people that you're supposed to be serving. But as an entrepreneur, if your heart is weak and tattered because of all of that, you're not going to have the energy to actually make it to your people.
Right.
The people that you're called to serve. And it's just like, I often tell people, anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, it's like, yes, I get it, it's trending right now, but I want you to know that you are about to fillet your heart and soul and put it in front of people and say, judge me, reject me, love me, hate me. And if you're not ready for that, then do some investing in yourself so that you can be ready for that, because it doesn't matter what you create. Doesn't matter what you create. Every entrepreneur, it's a little bit of their heart and soul that's out there, and it just deserves the utmost amount of self-care, self-love, and self-awareness, and, personal investment. So, and that's how you prevent burnout.
But you're so right, and we actually have one of my really good friends. I love her so much, Angela Miller. She was actually in my book, Purpose Matters, shameless plug, as one of the authors. And she has this thing called Art in the Park here in Cleveland, and she tells everybody you need to come out. I don't care what you do, because, like you said, being an entrepreneur, it is art. It is anytime you're expressing yourself from your heart or creativity in any way, that is art. No matter what you do. And she tells everybody, no matter what you do, come out and have some fun and experience other people, because you do have to have that self-care. You do have to have some fun and just invest in yourself and just have a free time to be able to appreciate your creativity and the experience.
Yep, 100%.
So tell us, since we're talking about self-care, one of the things that you did for self-care is you saved up to go to a concert and experience, and it resulted in a conversation, in a talk at TED Talk. So can you tell us about the TED Talk and kind of how that went? Don't tell us everything, because I want people to go to YouTube and actually see it, but,
Yeah. Okay. So you said don't tell them about what happened.
Well, I mean, you can, but I mean, I like the way you kind of presented it and the way you kind of did I would love people to see that. So,
okay,
you know.
So shameless plug, go watch my TED Talk. Just Google Stacey Flowers TED Talk, and it'll come up. But, you know, yeah, like that was a very big act of self-care. And it's interesting because if you listen to it, you'll notice that, like, I saved up for 2 years to be able to invest in that level of self-care. And, I mean, the return has been 100-fold, right? Like, I saved for 2 years to make an investment, and that one investment, not only did it give me this amazing experience with, you know, someone amazing who I truly respect and admire, but, you know, it's sort of the highlight story in my TED Talk. It's one of the highlight stories when I'm giving speeches around the world. So it's also turned into this amazing anecdote that I'm able to use to express to people, you know, what it looks like for you to create real happiness in your own life. And so that was one of those, like, moments where it was like, you know, I knew I really wanted to be able to go. I couldn't afford to go, and I had a friend, right? She was just like, hey, she's going to do this again. Why don't you save up? And just my commitment to, like, all right, I'm going to save up until she has another one. Like, who does that? I don't.
Right. You don't even know when it will be. You're just going to continue to keep saving.
Exactly. I was like, I don't know when it will be, but I know she's going to do another one. And it just so happened that it took her 2 years to do another one. But what's even, like, that just is so funny to me that I just was, like, blindly, like, I'm going to put some money in here. But as soon as she announced it, I was ready. And I was like, boom, here it is. And I was able to experience, you know, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that's been, I mean, it's been incredible. Like, I love sharing that story, like, all the time. But I also really, the memories that I have of that experience, like, if you're on my YouTube channel, like, I have my Stacey Beyonce boots. There's these, like, wedge boots that I wore. Like, I'm going to have those boots for forever. I have the dress that I wore. I have all those little bits and pieces that I wore because it's like that experience changed my life. Like, it changed my life for me, just myself, but it also changed my life professionally because I understood what I had been doing, you know, 17 years prior in all my research on success and happiness, because I kept trying to figure out the link between success and happiness. And, you know, I've realized that, you know, happiness comes before success and all that stuff, but I just couldn't find the link or the positioning to be able to express it to other people. But saving up for 2 years for that experience and, you know, moving into this great massive act of self-care, it was like, boom, here it is. This is what this looks like. So, and that will make a lot more sense to you all when you watch the TED Talk.
Yes, go over and watch it. And that wasn't even one of the videos I seen. I think I watched that, like, somewhat after. I binge watched all your vlog videos or, like, your advice videos. And I was like, oh, wow. It was like, just kind of I was like, that's really cool the way you presented it. Now, you spoke about happiness, and that is the core of your business. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, so it is I'm trying to, hold on, I'm in another room, and it's so echoey in here. Hold on. Sorry about that. Yes, so it is a speaking and personal growth and development business, and so probably about 50% of my work is literally me traveling around the world as a motivational speaker and, you know, sharing a message on happiness, and I typically position it from the perspective of purpose, productivity, and passion. And, like, what I mean by that is, like, helping people to connect to their purpose so that way they're truly creating real happiness in their life, because a lot of people misunderstand purpose, but also from a productivity perspective, because in order to walk out in your purpose, you know, you need to be productive. You need to be producing something. What that looks like is you know, it goes depending on the speech or whatever, we talk about that. And then I also talk about passion and, you know, allowing that to be the fuel. And so for speaking, my audiences are typically women leadership conferences. I love talking to a group of women. For undergrad, I actually was educated at an all-women's college, and I had like 3 sisters and 1,000 aunts, and so I've spent so much of my life around women and being educated under the wings of, like, amazing women, and just really being able to revel in, like, womanhood. And so it's been amazing to build a company that now allows me to pour all that wisdom that was poured into me back out into the generation that's coming after me and the generation that has gone before me, because it's fascinating to see my more mature audience, the 40-plus, 60-plus women being able to connect and resonate with my story. And so that's about 50% of my company. The other 50% of my company focuses more on life coaching, courses, sort of things that would support you in growing on a personal journey of personal growth and development. And so on my website, like, for example, right now, if you go to my website, I have a self-doubt detox training, because what I found is that so many people would want to come to my coaching program, and, coaching with me is intense because once I'm committed, this is just what we're doing. And I kind of, push my clients in that regard, but they kept bumping up against so much self-doubt. And I'm like, it's not the other people around you. It's not faulty relationships. It's not lack of idea or lack of vision. It's that self-doubt that you're struggling with. And so I was just like, okay, if the people who want to work with me can first interact and attempt to alleviate their self-doubt, then by the time that we're working on some intense things together, at least I know that they have that foothold into their journey, right? So I have those sort of like free trainings. I have another free training coming up called Super Confident, because I also found, in addition to self-doubt, once you conquer self-doubt, then confidence becomes an issue. And they're different, right? The skills that you need to be confident are different than the skills that you need to not doubt. And so my Super Confident training course will be something that's free and available to people, but usually through courses like that, I support people, and then through group and one-on-one life coaching, where people kind of come a little bit closer to the cuff, and I walk them through whatever their major roadblock is to happiness over a few weeks. And we build out a plan, and I show up and I serve as accountability, and we walk through that. And so it's about a 50-50 split right now, which I'm enjoying that because it supports some of my lifestyle goals and some of my, this next phase of my life, the things that I'm looking forward to. And so, yeah, that's my work.
That is so cool. Like, okay, because I think that happiness, I love the fact that you speak about happiness and you coach about happiness all along with also going through this journey, on YouTube, because you basically, to me, what I get from that is what you're saying is that you can be happy as well as grow. Like, you're always growing. You're always working on yourself. You're always pouring into yourself. But along that journey, you can still be happy where you are, even though you're growing and you have these goals that you want to hit. But being content where you are right now,
right,
is really important.
Right. The quote, what is the quote? It says, happiness is the journey, not the destination. And, when I first begun my speaking career, I definitely was pointing people towards a destination. And it wasn't until, I hit that destination, right? Like, I'm in Rwanda, Africa, I'm in Nassau, Bahamas, I'm in a different state nearly every other month or every other week. I'm scouting locations for my conference in New York, and, I'm doing workshops in my hometown and in Chicago. Like, I'm at the destination. And I'm in this destination that should be producing happiness. And I was experiencing a lot of happiness, but there was this other deep contrast, right? And I'm like, I don't understand this contrast. And in order for me to understand the contrast, like, I crashed completely, went into a rest season. And then when I came out of the rest season, the revelation was that, Stacey, you've been treating happiness as a destination, and you've been teaching people to seek a destination, and that was an incomplete message, right? Like, the whole message is enjoy the journey. And I think that in me expressing my journey on YouTube, I'm hoping that I'm conveying in my videos that, like, am I on cloud nine, like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. No, but I'm hoping that I'm conveying in my videos that I'm enjoying the journey that I'm on. The choices that I'm making is so that there is enjoyment, because you can be going through something challenging, like trying to pay off 100% of your debt, and still enjoy the journey, right? Like, that goal of trying to become 100% debt-free doesn't negate my ability to be able to come on your show and share and glean and listen to you and then impart something to your audience. But I think oftentimes we think, especially when we think about happiness, it's like, no, I have to get all my ducks in a row. Everything has to be pretty. It has to be the perfect lighting on Instagram. I have to have Pinterest-style clothing. And, everything has to be perfect, and then I'll be happy. And it's just like, no. Happiness is, this is my definition when I tell people, is unleashing your God-given potential to positively influence the world, right? And from that perspective, I show up on my YouTube channel and I unleash my God-given potential to positively influence the world, right? I go to my part-time job, I do that. I come on this show, I do that. I'm actively doing it, and it's just like making that one adjustment that it's like, it's not where you're going, Stacey. It's not when you get there. It's right now, right? Like, what are you experiencing right now that's worthy of your smile, your joy, your contentment? What are you experiencing right now in the middle of the storm that's worthy of all that? And it's amazing because even when I was in the darkest part of it, when I was severely depressed and I was like, what in the world? Like, and I couldn't get out of bed. Even when I was in that state, a lot of the principles that I had studied and I had practiced served me then, because I'm like laying in my bed, days upon days, and I'm affirming gratitude out loud, and I'm saying, okay, I'm grateful for my kidneys. I'm saying it with an attitude, but I'm still saying it, right? Because I'm still in the journey. I'm not dead yet. I'm still in the journey. This sucks, feeling like this and not being able to get out of bed and not being able to get out of the house, but you know what? I'm still breathing, so I'm just, with my snarky, sarcastic attitude, I'm just going to say I'm happy and grateful that I still have breath, and I'm going to be happy and grateful that I still have a heartbeat, and I'm going to say that gratitude until I'm finding something else to be grateful for. And so what I'm finding in my business now is instructing people from that perspective, inspiring people from that perspective has truly been the thing that's empowering them to do it on their own without me, but also enabling me to be able to reach more people than I ever thought humanly possible. Because the burden isn't on me to show them the destination. My work is merely to say, okay, how can we make this journey better? I know where you want to go, but what can we do today? Like, what does that look like? And let's lay that out. It's wonderful work. Like, I'm humbled by it every day. I'm thrilled by it every day. It's wonderful work.
And like I said from the beginning of the show, you guys, I was truly inspired by your videos, and like you said, like it's not. It goes to me. What it goes back to is what I say often is that the best way to preach about your beliefs is through your life.
Yep.
Like, you can quote scripture and Bible, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying those are things that you don't need to know how to do. But when you are just living your life to the best of your ability, that's the best way to preach what you believe. Yep. And I think for me, that's what I see in your videos and what you do online, because you're just living your life and you're just trying to do it to the best of your ability.
Right. And listen, I 100% believe that your happiness, my happiness, I 100% believe that your happiness will change the world. I 100% believe it. Like, that's what I believe. And it's like, you make me so happy that you say that, like, that's what you see me doing, because I'm like, that is what, it is what I believe. Like, it is, it's just so good to hear you say that, because that's what this is about. It's like, I'm not trying to get you to buy into something. I'm trying to change the world, and I understand that I'm not going to be able to do that by telling people that they can be something that I'm not showing them that I'm actively every day becoming more of. Like, thank you for saying that. Just wonderful. Yes. So
I mean, it's just honestly the truth, like, from what I've seen. I could, oh my gosh, I could really talk to you all day. Because you have a lot going on, the other things I wanted to ask you, but I want you to be able to tell us about your book, too, or at least where we can find it. Because you have a book called Pregnant with Purpose, right? Yes. And it's success strategies, if I can talk today. And you can go ahead and tell us about it. I'll just let you finish.
Yeah, so my first book is called Pregnant with Purpose, Success Strategies for Teen Parents, and it was the first book that I wrote, and I didn't share this when I was going over my bio, but I am a mom. My son will actually be 16 in July, which totally blows my mind, and I became a mom when I was 17 years old and a senior in high school, and it was a very difficult thing to experience because it was something that was so common in my family that when I started making changes and decisions to position myself to have a better life and for my son to have a better life, there was so much stuff that came up. And so when I was, going into my speaking career, one of the things that I talked to people a lot about was that particular aspect of my story and how they could transform their life and how they needed to understand that literally and metaphorically they were pregnant with purpose and what that looked like in order to establish success in their life. And so I would work with that audience. And out of me working with that audience, I found that there was a greater need. There was more that they needed. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to put some words on a paper and see if this supports people more in understanding what it looks like to decide to become a success instead of a statistic. And so inside of that book, it's part memoir of my experience as a young parent, but the real big, massive, amazing thing about it is that inside of it I have this A5 strategy because, that's who I am. I have this A5 strategy where I walk you through a 5-step process of being able to transform your life, whether it's a pregnancy or some other experience or obstacle that you need to overcome. Like I walk you through what it looks like to overcome anything so that way you're not showing up in the world as a statistic, you're showing up in the world as a success. And that book has been met with great success. It's been translated now into 2 languages, which is kind of like, whoa, that's amazing. It's been translated into 2 languages, and it's serving people. And a publisher actually approached me because they want to revisit it and write it not just as it's leaning more towards young parents, because they're like, the information in here is literally for anyone who's ever in their life faced an obstacle or are currently facing an obstacle, because the principles and the strategies apply no matter the obstacle. So yeah, that's my first book. It's available on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and Google Stacey Flowers, Pregnant with Purpose. It'll come up. You can get Kindle, audiobook, and a softcover copy as well. And I'm super proud of that work.
We'll make sure we have that in the event page, you guys, as well. But what if you can give us your social media information and where we can find you and what's coming up? I mean, you already told us that you have your conferences coming up and your work, your conferences coming up and your workshops coming up. Is there anything else, and where can we find you?
You can find me on the internet everywhere at Stacey Flowers or The Stacey Flowers. So, like, my podcast on iTunes is The Stacey Flowers Podcast. My inspiration page on Facebook, where I typically go live every Thursday to impart some personal growth and development nugget for free, and I answer 100,000 questions that you guys have. That's Facebook/The Stacey Flowers. Instagram is where you're going to see more of my daily content as it relates to both my financial journey and me reestablishing my company or rebuilding my company. And then, of course, on YouTube at Stacey Flowers. So pretty much Stacey Flowers or The Stacey Flowers. And you can also come to my blog at www.staceyflowers.com. I made it really easy for you guys because I want you to find my work. If you're seeking happiness, I want you to be able to find it. And then as far as what's next, the big next thing that I have that's pretty much going to be available to everyone is just my new training program coming out, Super Confident, where I'm going to be helping people to cultivate and create authentic confidence so that they'll be able to establish and realize their dreams. So, and that should be available here within like the next week or so. So anybody who's on my email list now, you guys will have access to that as soon as it's live.
All right. Well, that's perfect because, you guys, what I'll make sure I'll do is I will put those links. I'll go get the link, put that in there. That way all you guys will just go find everything there. You click and play and have everything that you need because I'm quite sure you are going to be getting that as well as the book and going to check her out on YouTube. What I'll do, too, is I'll put her TED Talk in in the event page too. So you guys can just see it. It's not long, the one that I've seen. I don't know if there was more than one, but the one I've seen is not long. So, but you get a lot of information from it. So, Stacey, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking to our listeners and our audience. I appreciate it. I'm quite sure they do. And taking out the time.
Absolutely. It's truly my pleasure. It's truly, I'm so thankful for you deciding to reach out and invite me to this amazing opportunity. And I really want to hear from your audience. So wherever this will be published, I will be in the comments responding and chatting with you all as it's published, because it's truly an amazing work to be able to do this. And I'm grateful for people like you having an existing platform and community for me to be able to talk to. So thank you so much for supporting my work.
Yes, oh my gosh. So, okay, well, I'll make sure that I get all that information to you. If you stay on after the call, I'll get that information to you. We'll tell you when it's going to air and everything. So you guys, you heard Stacey here. Honestly, you guys, I really could have talked to her for another hour at least, because there is a lot of other questions that I had. So what I would tell you guys to do, first let me tell Stacey, the invitation is always open. So anytime you want to come back on to promote maybe a conference or another book coming out, please let me know. I always leave the invitation open to my guests, and of course that extends to you. And you guys, if you have other questions for her, please go over to her YouTube channel or to her website or to her podcast and just check her out. Let me tell you guys, there is so much more to her. So you guys check her out, and then let me know. You guys put your comments if you go before. After you listen to the podcast. Go ahead and put your comments in there. They still come with notifications even after the day of the show, you guys. So let me know what you think. So, and then Stacey too, if you could please share. I always ask my guests to share a word or quote or something, a scripture that they use to encourage themselves every day. So can you share yours?
My favorite scripture in the entire Bible is Ecclesiastes. My favorite book in the Bible is Ecclesiastes. My favorite scripture is Ecclesiastes 3:12, and it says that there is nothing better for man to do than to be happy and do good. And that's how I seek to live my life.
All right. Yes, that's a good quote. Good scripture with this show. I thank you guys once again for listening. You always support me, and I thank you, Stacey, for coming on.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday. I am thanking you guys for listening to the Miss Savvy Pro Show on the I Am a Superwoman network, and you guys are awesome. Make sure you know that purpose matters. Love you guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Miss Savvy Pro Show. And remember, there's always peace in purpose.